Do you want to master pure Node.js without any library or frameworks? In this video, we are going to build a project called System Monitor API from scratch. Do you want to become a true Node.js master? Rare developers understand what is happening under the hood. Today, we are building System View, a powerful system monitoring API using nothing but pure vanilla Node.js, no Express, no external packages, just raw Node.js power. In case you are new to Node.js, then you can check my crash course on Node.js. What is this project? System View is a lightweight API server that we are going to build that gives you real-time information about your computer system through simple HTTP request. It provides detailed statistics about your CPU, and that is processor model, cores and usage, memory by knowing total free usage percentage, operating system that include platform, type, version, uptime, user account information, network interfaces, and Node.js process details. Why building this project? This project is perfect for learning several keynote concepts in Node.js. For example, working with built-in modules like HTTP, OS, processes, creating a REST API with different endpoints, handling HTTP requests and responses, and formatting and processing system information. And lastly, working with JSON data. After building this project, you will have a solid understanding of how to access system information in Node.js and how to build a basic HTTP server with multiple routes. Let's dive in and explore how each part of this code is going to work. To get started, I'm going to use Visual Studio Code, and I have a folder called System View API. And inside, I'm going to have one file called server or app.js. And for this project, we're not going to use AI to write the code. We're going to write everything from scratch. In that way, it's going to help us to better understand Node.js before using AI to generate codes. We are going to require the necessary modules for this project. First step is we will need the HTTP module for creating the server as require HTTP. Apart from that, we're going to use the OS module, and that is the operating system module, and then the process module, which is also this. Once again, in case you are new to Node.js, then you can check my crash course on Node.js. And lastly, we will need the URL module, which is going to format the URL that we're going to pass into this application. Let's have some roadmaps or to-dos here. So the first step is that we are going to format bytes into human-readable format. Because if you log the OS, it's going to give you the byte which is not all that readable. So we're going to have a function to format. Apart from that, we're going to have a function to format seconds to human-readable time. I have different colors for my comments because of this extension called beta comment. Alright, then I'm going to have a function to get the CPU info as get CPU info, and then get memory info about your operating system, and then get OS info, and then I'm going to get the user info as get, and then get network, and then get processes info. And below here, we're going to have a function to start our server as HTTP server. And lastly, we're going to start the server. We are going to have these two functions in these places for you to work. Therefore, let's begin with the format byte to human-readable format. And the function goes like this. Function, let me change this color. And for this function, it's going to take in the byte and then the decimal. By default, you're going to assign to 2 decimal places. So in case we have a byte, If it is equal to 0, then we are going to return 0 byte. Then in here, we are going to set base unit. And it goes like K, which is equal to 1024. K stands for kilobytes, and every unit is 1024 times the previous one. And we're gonna have the sizes as const. Sizes is equal to array of the following as byte, comma, kilobyte, megabyte, terabyte, and lastly petabyte. Then the next step is that we are going to calculate the index as I, which is equal to math.floor. And for floor, we are going to pass in the following. I'm going to write the code and then I will explain. In here, I'm going to pass in math.log. Then as a function call, we are going to pass in the byte as byte. And then we are going to divide by math.log and then the K. That is the kilobyte, which is the base unit here. Now let me explain this line of code here. We are using math.floor and then inside we are passing in math.log and then pass in the byte. So what is the main purpose of the math.log? This is a natural logarithm, that is log base of the byte value. This one answers the question, to what power must we raise a number called the base to get another number? For example, in case we have log and then base 2, something like this, then we pass in 8. This one becomes 2 multiply 2 power 3, which is this, which is equal to 8. That's the main purpose of the math.log over here. And then we are dividing by the kilobyte base. Then lastly, we are going to return the formatted result as pass float, and then we're gonna pass in these values as byte divided by the math.power. Then we're gonna pass in the K and then the I. This one calculates the base unit, which is equal to 1024, and then power the I. That is the size unit. And we are going to convert to fixed, then the decimal place, plus we're gonna concat with this as plus the sizes, and then we're gonna pass in the I, meaning that we're gonna use one of these sizes, either byte, kilobyte, megabyte, terabyte, or petabyte. So there is a function to format the byte. When you get to the usage, you better understand this flow. And the next one is going to be a function to format the sequence to human-readable time. So here as function, and then format time. Then we're going to pass in the sequence. And in here, we're going to get the days. Days is equal to math, and then pass in the sequence divided by bracket, which is 3600 multiplied by 24. This one gives us the days in the sequence that's going to be passed in into this function. Apart from that, we also need the hours, which is equal to math.floor. And then we're going to pass in the sequence, then modulus, then bracket 3600 multiply by 24, then divided by 3600. This is how you can get the hours from the seconds. And apart from that, we also need the minute, which is equal to math.floor. Then you're gonna pass in the seconds modulus 3600, then divided by 60. And lastly, the seconds as seconds, which is equal to math.floor, then pass in the seconds modulus 60. Perfect. So in here, we are going to return the results as return backtick $ curly braces days, then I'm gonna add a D space $ the hours, then add H space $ curly braces the minute, and then space $ curly braces then the seconds. Now that we have these utility functions, let's get into the main logics by getting the CPU information. And it goes like this. If I log just the OS package dot CPUs as a function call, and then let's check it out in the terminal. I'm going to run node, then the name of the file is app. Well, seconds has been declared already. Let me check. Well, let me change this one to remaining seconds instead. Yeah, so let me clear it and try again, and we have the CPU information, the model of my CPU, the speed, and I want the first index, which is this one. So I'm going to use array of first indexed, shutdown, clear, and let me try again, and I have it. I can get the CPUs, I can get the length, the architecture, and then the load average. I'm going to have a function here as const get CPU. Let me use array function for this. I'm going to get the model. Const model is equal to the OS dot CPUs as you saw in the console. I'm going to get the first index, and then on that I want the model. So if I log the model, let me call the function here as get CPU info, and let me run it again, and I have Apple M1 chip. Great. That is my model of my operating system, and then the course about my operating system as const. Let me copy and paste, change this one to course, and it can be found on the dot length will give me the course. Apart from that, I will need the architecture as const architecture is equal to, is supposed to be const, is equal to os dot architecture, and then the load average, const load average, which is equal to operating system dot load average. Great. So I'm going to log the following as an object: the model, the course, the architecture, and then the load average. So let me check it out in the terminal, clear it, and then let's run. And indeed we have the result as model, course, architecture, then the load average. And this function is going to return the following. Therefore, I'm going to use key value pair as an object. Therefore, I'm going to use return, then the model, comma, the course, comma, the architecture, and then the load average. When you call this function, we have access to the following properties. So let's just do that. So I'm going to log the function here, and let's see the result. It's going to be the same as before, and indeed we have it. I think I have this console log. Let me remove that, and then let me try again, clear it, and then here we go, we have the result. This is how we can get the CPU info. The next is going to be the memory information as const array function, and in here, first of all, we will need the total as total is equal to os dot total memory, which is this, and let me log the total memory here, and let me call the function as get memory information. Let me clear it, and well, let me avoid calling this function, and let's see for this. It's supposed to be a function, as a function call. So let me clear it and try again, and this is the memory. As you can see, this is not readable. This is where the function called format byte comes in, and we have it here as format byte. Let's go ahead and log it to see the result by using the format byte. Then I'm going to pass in the os.total memory. Alright, so let's try out to see the result. And I have 8 terabytes, which is not true. I have 8 gigabytes. Let me have a look at the formatting, which is this. Oh, but on my side, after the megabyte, we need to have the gigabyte. Alright, and then terabyte as that. So with this one, it will work perfectly. And indeed, I am using 8 gig. That is true. Now, we are going to remove the log and then use the format as format byte, and then the total memory. We also need the free one, or the free memory, which is os.freeMemory. Once again, let me log the two, both the total and then the free memory. Let me check it out to confirm if indeed it is true. And indeed, and I have free memory of 43 megabytes, which is true. Great. The next one is going to be the usage. So here as const usage is equal to bracket, then I'm going to pass in inner bracket by saying that 1 minus os dot free memory as a function call, and then divided by os dot total memory as a function. Then we're going to multiply by 100. Then let's convert to 2 decimal places as 2, and then let me add the percentage as percentage. So let me log the usage, and let's see. Great, I have used 99% of my total memory, which is true. Then lastly, you're going to return as an object total free and then the usage. Let me remove the function call. We are going to get the operating system information as const get os info. For the operating system information, we're going to use const platform, which is equal to os dot platform, and let's log the platform. Let me call the function as get os info, and let me clear it. And I am using Darwin. Apart from the platform, I also want the type as const type is equal to os.type as a function call, and let's log as an object the type and then the platform as we have just logged. And let me see one more time, and type is Darwin, the platform is also Darwin, and the release date as const release is equal to os.release, and let me add to the log as release. Let me try again, and this is a release version. Apart from the release, we also want the host name, which is equal to os.hostname, and let me add to the log as host name is masintech.imac.local. And lastly, the uptime. The uptime of my operating system is going to be os.uptime, and let me add to this, and let's see, the uptime is this. You want to format this one. This is where the format time also comes in, which is, let me check, which is this one, format time. So for the uptime, I'm gonna pass to the format function. Good. So let me try again. And this is the uptime of my operating system. All right, so let me remove these logs. We are done with that. Let me collapse the one that we are done. Good. All right, so we are on the get user information. This is going to be a simple function as const get user info. Const user is equal to os.userinfo as a function call, and then let me log the user here, that is me, and get user info, and let me try again, and this is the user info with the UID, GID, username, the home directory, and for my shell I'm using ZSH. So I'm going to return get user here as return user. Remove this, and the next step is going to be the network information. So here as const network info is equal to const network is equal to os dot network interface or interfaces, and let me log the network. Let me call the function as get network info, and this is my network info with the address and other properties. Let me return the network here, remove this, and the last one is going to be const get process info is equal to the PID, that is public ID. Const PID is equal to, for this we're going to use the process module, which is this one, as process dot public ID, then const the title of my processor, which is equal to process dot title. Let me log this as the public ID, the title, and let me call the function as get process info. Let me clear it, and this is my public ID and then the title. I will also need the node version as node version is equal to process dot version. Pass in here as node version. By the time of watching this video, this is my current Node.js version. Yours might be higher depending on the time of watching this video. So apart from the Node version, we can also get the uptime. So const uptime is equal to, we're going to use the format time to format it, then pass in the process.uptime. And then the current working directory as cwd, as we saw, is equal to process.current working directory as a function call, and then the memory usage as memory as an object. I'm going to specify the RSS. RSS stands for resident set size. That is the total memory allocated for the process, includes heap, stack, and C++ object. It is what your app is currently using in the RAM. Think of this as the complete footprint of your app in memory. We're going to use the format byte. Then we can get it from the process.memory usage. As a function call on that, we have the RSS. Apart from that, we will need, let me copy and paste, we will need what is called the heap total. Heap total is the total heap memory allocated, which is the total amount of memory V8 engine reserved for JavaScript object. This one doesn't mean it is all used, just reserved or allocated. And we can get it from the process.memory usage. Then here we're going to access the heap total. Apart from the heap total, we also want the heap used, and it can be found on the heap used. The heap used is used heap memory. That is the actual amount of memory currently being used from the heap total. This is what actively used for your app's variables, objects, arrays, and others. And lastly, we will need what is called the external and dot external. The external here is the external memory. That is memory used by C++ objects or other native modules in Node.js. It is not part of the V8 heap, but it is managed by your app. And this one includes things like buffers, for example, if you are working with files or network data. And let's also return the environment as env. In here, we're going to make some condition. Then as an object, we're going to access node underscore environment. You're going to set using the process.env.node environment. If it doesn't exist, we're going to say that we haven't set any environment. Alright, so we have all these functions being ready to be served by our HTTP server. In here, we are going to have our HTTP server. So const as server is equal to http.create server as a function call. For this one, we have done it before under the Node.js crash course. So we have access to the request response. Next step is that we are going to format the URL that a user is going to pass into our server by using the URL module. So here as const passed URL, which is equal to URL dot pass. Then we're going to pass in what a user is passing into our server as reg.url. Then as a second argument, we're going to use true for this one. Great. So next step is that we're going to set the header. And that is, we want to tell our server that it should return JSON data. So in here as response.setHeader, and the content type is equal to application/JSON is supposed to be comma. We are going to handle the / and that is the home page route. So in here, if the past URL on that, we have the path name. If it is equal to /, we know that the user is accessing the home page. Therefore, we are going to use what is called rest.statuscode. We are going to set to 200, which means everything went on well. And lastly, we're going to send the response as rest.end. For this one, we have done it before. And what are we sending? We're going to send JSON data, therefore JSON.stringify as an object. Perfect. So in here, we're going to send the name of application as System View Info API. Apart from that, let's provide description about this application, which is equal to access system statistics via simple JSON route. And let's specify the route as an array / we're going to have a route called CPU. Then we're going to have a route called memory, and then it's supposed to be /. And we're going to have a route for user info, and then we're going to have a route for process, and then lastly is network. So let's try this one. Before that, unless we start our server by saying that server.listen, then pass in the port. Let me specify the port here as const port is equal to 3000. You can use any value, but make sure that that port is going to be used by your operating system. Then as a function call, that's a callback, I'm going to say that log is running at http:// then inject the port. Perfect. So let's run the application, and it says that this port is being used by different applications. So let me change this one to 5000 and clear it. Great. My application is running on 500, supposed to be 5000. And let me shut down, clear it. Boom. Again, I think I have an error again. It's also being used. What about 8080? Let me clear it. This one worked. So I'm going to access my application on 8080. All right, and I have the JSON data. In case you don't have this format about your JSON data, I've installed an extension called JSON format. So if you visit your extension in Chrome Store, you can access that by searching for JSON formatter, which is this. Great. All right, so I have it as that. So it's time for us to pass the path that we want to access. For example, the memory, the CPU, the process, the network. We're going to have a route to match these ones over here. So back to the code. After the if here, let me collapse, and then else if the path URL dot path name is equal to CPU, then we're going to return by saying that rest dot end, and then JSON dot stringify, then pass in the get CPU info, which is this function, get CPU info. Good, as a function call. And then for the stringify, we're gonna pass in the second argument as nar, and then 2. Let me explain this one. The JSON.stringify is going to convert the JavaScript object into a JSON string, so it can be sent over the network. The now here simply means that you are not modifying any of the keys, and the 2 here is for formatting. It has 2 spaces of indentation for pretty printing. So I'm going to copy this because we're gonna use the same format for the rest. Else if the path name, I can even copy this, the else if here. Yeah, copy that and then paste it here. So else if the path name is equal to memory, then we're gonna call the get memory info. Else if the path name is equal to user, we're gonna use get user info. Else if the path name is equal to process, we're gonna use get process info. Then lastly, if none of the paths matches this, you're gonna say rest.status code, which is equal to 404, which means it doesn't exist. Then I'm going to send rest.end and pass in JSON.stringify. So in here, I'm gonna say that error and route not found. It's time for us to try out. Let me reload and let me open a new path here. I'm going to access /CPU and it worked. If I click on the memory, it also worked. And if I click on the user, it worked. Likewise, process. Well, for the process, I got nothing, which means we are not returning anything from the process function. That is get process info. Yes, of course, we need to return the following. So in here, I'm going to cut this one from here and then return object, the public ID, comma, the title, comma, node version, comma, uptime, then paste the memory and then the environment. This is supposed to be comma here because it's an object, and comma here, and then remove this. Perfect. So if I try again, unless I restart the server because I have made changes, and there we go, I have it. What about, I think I'm not using the get OS. Yeah, so let me have a look at the home page. If you have OS, you don't have it here being added. So at the home route, I want to pass the home, supposed to be the OS. So we will need one more else if block. I'm going to copy this and then paste. If the path is OS, as get OS info. Good. So let me restart the server, reload, and I have the OS. Let me include /, which is this. Good. Restart and reload OS. Likewise, the OS, we are not returning anything from the function. Let me see the OS. Yeah, we have to return the platform, bottom and side, the type, and then release, and then the uptime. Good. And lastly, the host name. We also need to use the network. Yeah, network. We are not returning the network here. So at the home route, I have it here as network, but we don't have a path for that. So copy and paste. If it is not this one, I think it start from here, else if up to this side, then paste. Else if is network, then use get network info. Great. Let me restart. At the home page, reload CPU, it worked. memory, it worked, user, process, network, and lastly the OS. Alright guys, so here ends this project.